Hey guys. Yeah, I'm way late with this, but here's my review of the Real Grade Zeong. You know what that means. We're going to unbox the kit, I'll show you all the gimmicks and stuff, and then we'll take a look at it all put together. Let's check it out.
Robo Shop.
Alright, so first of all, excuse the mess, but I'm having to do that thing again where I move the camera like away from the table so that I can even fit the box in the image. Because this thing is absolutely humongous. This edge is 30 centimeters, just to give you an idea. I think this is the same size as the Sotheby box, but that one's in the basement, so I'm afraid I can't confirm or deny that. But yeah, I mean, on the front here we have, other than the enormous size, we very much have standard RG fare, which means, you know, here on the right we have the whole kit, and here we have a close-up on its face. It says here MSN 02 Zeong, Principality of Zeong mobile suit for new type. An explanation of what real grade is. We're used to all that, right? Now here, let me see if I can get this to show reasonably. We have also pretty much the usual, a depiction of the inner frame detail underneath the skirt section. A couple more pictures here. This probably explains all the stuff that the head does, but I can't read any of it. On this side, sorry, yeah, just, you know, the box art. And here we have a couple of pictures of poses that the kit can do, and that's pretty much it. So before we look at the individual sprues, I just want to see how full this box actually is, and then I'm going to move things around a bit so that we have a less chaotic setup. Yeah, I have to say, I'm a little underwhelmed by how much there is in this box. You can see there's plenty of room here. It's also not filled all the way to the top. It's a bit odd. It just seems like, I don't know, this box didn't really need to be as big as it is. I was also kind of expecting to see more large parts, but let's check out the sprues in detail once I've moved the camera back down and just generally kind of, well, you know, I'll see you in a sec. Okay, let's get started here. I'm just going to go through all the backs top to bottom. Here we have something that we actually do need to take out of the back. So, just a second here. First of all, of course, real grade means a lot of stickers. Actually, this isn't that many. We've got, you know, all these stripes here, the usual foil stickers. That one goes on the eye. Neo Zeong, I think that's Neo Zeong, is it? Emblem, a couple of the usual warning sticker designs, and really that's it. It's not as many as we're used to. This is what I wanted to look at because this is probably going to be the only sprue that has the, you know, the multiple injection, whatever that technology is called. This is the B sprue. And it seems to just be the hands. Also, while I'm at it, this will probably be the A sprue, right? Okay, A sprue has this big clear part here, another small clear part that seems to be the eye, purple, black, blue, and that's it. Now, here in this bag, we have whatever that red hose piece is. I don't know if you can see this. And here, this is mostly the skirt armor. This looks to be the hands. And here we have inner frame parts in the usual gunmetal color. These are, of course, you look at this. This is a huge part for a real grade kit. Unsurprisingly, of course, here we have just a whole mess of mechanical pieces. More of these hoses. I'm going to be real curious to see what these do. More armor for the skirt, of course. Seems to be made up of a lot of pieces. More internal frame parts, inner frame parts. You guys notice how I can't talk today? I don't know, I'm making a fool of myself, sorry. Comes with its own dedicated action base. Actually, this looks to be a standard action base. I'm recognizing a lot of these parts. And they've just included it because it's clear that the kit needs one. Kind of a shame it's not clear plastic though. I prefer these to be clear plastic. Up next, another big bag, and then we've got some smaller ones. Okay, this is just a whole mess of inner frame pieces. It's a real grade, all right. And then we have 2 yellow parts, and this is a sort of turquoise-ish kind of color, I guess. Thruster bells and a few mechanical bits. And then up next we've got these red pieces here that also belong with the thruster bells. Don't know what these are. Looks very much like mechanical stuff. Here we have some more blue and the hand armor, some other stuff, more action base pieces for some reason. We'll find out why soon. A few yellow bits for like exhaust of some sort, and more of these thruster bell pieces identical to these, plus some more inner frame stuff. Yeah, and that's all the parts. Let's take a quick look at the instructions. Maybe we can find out what the deal is with this action base and the tubes. So, yeah, I mean, I'm guessing you guys all know what these look like by now. So parts list starts with the head assembly. Just thumbing through this because I want to find out what the deal is with the hoses, wires, whatever they are. Looks to be a relatively simple construction despite the number of... Oh, here we go, here we go. See here? If I can show this without having the light reflect off of it. These hoses are to do this thing where the hands fly off. I gotta be honest, it's been a while since I've seen the original Mobile Suit Gundam, so I don't remember this, but I'm sure it happens. And you can also see here that the action base is set up with these 3 bases, which... Alright, here we go. So they want you to... Oh, okay. I think the idea is they want you to set up the action base with these 3 base plates so that you can have these attached here and the big one attached in the back. And then, like in the photo I just showed you, you know, the Zeong itself attaches on the back, like here, and this is where you would put the hands. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Here we have the usual instructions for where the stickers go, and that's it. So I'm going to be spending a couple hours putting this together now, and I will see you in a few seconds in the photo booth. Before we do that though, you might have noticed I forgot to figure out what happens with that red tube looking thing, and here's what that's for. The red ring you see here is a piece of that which you cut out and tuck in here. It's actually just copper wire that you could feasibly get at any hardware store, but still, it's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen this on a gunplug kit before, and it does add some nice color separation here. Anyway, let's check out the kit's gimmicks. All right, so let's take a look at this guy. I'm not going to go through all of the articulation. I mean, it's a real grade, so the arms do pretty much anything you could possibly want them to. We're just going to check out some gimmicks that maybe just from looking at box pictures you guys aren't aware that this thing has. Starting at the top, let me get this as close to the camera as I can. You can see here the mono eye is behind these actually two eye openings here. And what happens when you rotate the head, you see there's a mechanism in there that makes the mono eye move to the direction that you rotate the head in. I think the Real Grade Zeong already had this, but yeah, this is always cool to see. The head mostly moves because this thing here can move up and down. The neck itself has generally some forward movement. Rotation is not that great because the armor bumps into the collar here, but because you can move the head this far back, what you can do overall is that you can bend everything backwards so far that it's almost at a 90-degree angle here, or well, parallel to the boosters, I should say, which means that you can actually have this thing in forward flying poses, which is pretty awesome. The downside to that, though, is that this mechanism here, you see you didn't hear anything when I pulled that out, right? This peg here that attaches to the waist unit, very loose. It's not really a huge issue. See, I'm pressing down on it again, sort of automatically, waiting for the click, and it never comes. It's not a huge issue because you could, I mean, there's no real waist rotation here, so you could feasibly just glue this in place if it bothers you. But I've also had, you want to be very careful when you hold it upside down. I've had the chest fall off a couple of times, and you don't want that to happen because these antlers are really freaking delicate. What you can also do, thanks to that hinge mechanism in there, is that you can have him like this, I guess, you know, flying backwards. Also, there's these, yeah, there's another thing that we need to talk about later. There's these boosters here on the side of the chest, 4 of them in total, that when you move them out like this, you see what happens is this opens automatically and the booster comes out a little. It's pretty cool. And then I think that's it. Let's look at the waist unit, as they always insist on calling it. From the bottom, of course, first of all, the fun part. The fun part to me is that this is shaped like a heart. But also notice that, of course, there's a ridiculous amount of detail here. These thrusters are all individually posable. And also, these armor plates here are actually like skirts on a robot that has legs. They're all on hinges and can be moved individually. And also there's a mechanism here that allows you to move these further down, like, you know, the mechanism that extends the legs on most real grades these days, so that you can get more posability. Which, of course, all of that leads me to the conclusion that there's going to be a P Bondi unit with legs for this guy, which is, to me, is a bit of a double-edged sword, because the fact that all these plates are hinged makes it really difficult to hold them in place when you handle this thing or when you pose it, like, oh, say for a photo shoot for a YouTube video. Haha. And it's basically in service of a gimmick that's most likely going to be a P Bondi set that most people are most likely not going to own. Also, I don't know. The Zeong's whole thing is that legs are just for show, right? So why would you give him legs? What else do we need to look at? Right, the hands. First of all, they... Oh, one more thing. This is a small thing, but this armor plate here on the shoulder armor can move and exposes a little bit of literal inner frame underneath. I don't really know what this is for. It doesn't help posability at all, but I guess it's pretty cool. Anyway, before we look at the arms, actually, this thing also comes with landing gear, which we attach like this. There's an armor plate here that you take off, and also these two. Come on. And then we have these landing gear pieces that I can never remember how to attach correctly. That looks about right. Like this. And this one like this. Come on. And finally the one in the front, like so. And then, of course, because the idea is that this landing gear extends from underneath, we attach these armor pieces back. And there you have it, landing gear. So you can actually, I mean, the good thing about this is that it means you can pose him without an action base, right? And it also looks a tiny little bit like he's floating, at least from a distance. Anyway, let's get these off so that I can show you how the arms work, because that's the big gimmick, of course, is the extending arms. Spoiler alert, though, it's not that great. What happens is, first of all, we have to, of course, unplug these arms. Notice how gingerly I'm doing this because I'm terrified of breaking the antlers. Now, first of all, let's take a quick look at the posability here. The hands, of course, minus these two armor plates, they come pre-molded on the B-sprue in these two collars. And you can bend the fingers, as you can see, this far. They also rotate individually, which adds a bit of extra posability, and the thumb can be rotated. And that's about as far as that will go, which, to be perfectly honest, I think it's a little underwhelming. I mean, these are basically the size of master grade hands, and there have been master grade and perfect grade kits with pre-molded hands that work better than this. They look cool, for sure, but yeah, it's not that big a deal. Also, notice how the fingers can actually also bend in the wrong direction. And the problem with that is you're going to want to really take a close look at the instructions when you build this thing, because what happened to me was that I actually put the fingers on backwards because I did think, well, they bend, so this must be it. And initially, as with a lot of these B-sprue things, the joints are very tight until you loosen them up a bit. So make sure you don't get that backwards. Now anyway, in order to attach it to its action base, what we do is this. We need, of course, these two pieces here, which, by the way, are molded out of this rubbery vinyl-like material, which is kind of interesting. I really don't know what the reason for that is. Now, these have a really cool feature here where you can pull back this yellow part with the vents. You attach the action base adapter here. Same with this. Here we, come on, I mean like this. Here we go. And then, of course, the wires. Now, the kit comes with like a really long piece. I think it's more than twice as long as these two, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you try to use it by itself. So I cut it. I also had to slice away a little bit of the coating to make it fit in some places. It's a very tight fit, which as soon as you have it put together is a good thing, for two reasons. I'll show you why in a second, but let me get this plugged in first. It's a bit difficult. Okay, I'm doing it wrong. It's better to go like this, because then you can see what you're doing. It's also kind of a pain because I have to do this on camera, of course. And this hand. And then we have the entire action base here, of course, with 3 base plates that you saw in the unboxing, which attaches on the bottom like this. And now you want to make sure that this is firmly in place, because the kit has a habit. It has a habit of falling off, and when it does, of course, it lands on its head and, again, antlers. Now these action base pieces go here and here, and there we have it. Zeong with its arms extended. The good thing about this being such a tight fit and the wires being relatively thick is the fact that the action bases by themselves actually don't really, see, they can't really support the weight of the hands. But since we have these wires here, and since they don't pop out unless you really pull on them, it's not a problem because with the whole contraption supports the weight of the hands just fine. Generally speaking, like I said, I think this would look better with clear action-based parts, to be perfectly honest. But it all works just fine and as intended. Whether you think this is really as great as Bandai seems to think it is up to you. Personally, I'm not going to be posing them like this on my shelf. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to show you guys. So let's move on to pictures.
Alright, so first off, I have to say, this is probably the most extreme case of what I guess you'd call a visual upgrade that an RG kit has pulled off. I don't know about you, but I've always thought the Zeong was a kind of goofy looking, and if you compare this to the animation line art, it's actually pretty damn close and still manages to look like a really interesting and cool Real Grade model. Obviously it's just the usual, you know, tons of color separation and small details, but I really didn't think it was possible to turn this design into something cool, and well, they did it. It's also kind of a refreshingly unusual build, and not just because it doesn't have legs. At its core, it's a modern Real Grade and it's constructed like one, but I really had a lot of fun putting this one together, and you guys might remember I've been complaining that the Real Grades are getting a bit tedious for me, actually. Obviously, as you can see here in the pictures, due to the nature of this mobile suit, it doesn't really lend itself to particularly interesting or dynamic poses, and I gotta be honest, the detachable hands gimmick really just looks goofy. You're probably going to end up just having this guy in an action base with its arms outstretched some way or another, but that's really all you can do with it. So, I'm gonna say, if you like doing a lot of crazy posing with your Real Grades, this one probably isn't for you. But if you're looking for something different than the 11 billionth Gundam or just a fun build and a really solid kit, there's really no reason why you shouldn't pick this one up. My one and only problem with it is the waist peg that I mentioned earlier, but other than that, everything about this kit works exactly as it should. And that's it for this one, folks. As usual these days, I don't know what's next. I'm finishing up a painted Zoids build at the moment, and after that I kinda want to do my first master grade in what is literally years at this point, so that's going to show up around these parts one way or another. I did also pre-order the Real Grade High New Gundam, and I will review that one, so if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to my channel before you leave and check out my other videos. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.